Hi everyone, welcome to my lecture on the subject Tildiq qarama-qatnoos madaniyati bo'yicha praktikum.
Kazakhstan has adopted a unique foreign policy direction that contains regional integration, denuclearization, promoting peace in the neighborhood and the world. Since the early 1990s, the country has facilitated various channels to realize these aims. In the aspect of peace promotion, Kazakhstan appeared as a mediator for numerous conflicts all around the world. Svante Cornell and Frederick Starr are analyzing the role of Kazakhstan in the peace efforts in their article, titled Kazakhstan's Role in International Mediation under First President Nursultan Nazarbayev at the Institute for Security and Development Policy. In the past decade, Kazakhstan has emerged as an important player in the world of mediation of international disputes. Its role in convening the Astana talks on Syria are the most well-known example, but Kazakhstan's activity goes far beyond this. In fact, involvement in international mediation has emerged as yet another facet of Kazakhstan's foreign policy, alongside its high-profile and multilateral organizations. In fact, Kazakhstani mediation builds on two aspects of Kazakhstan's foreign policy. These are the country's multi-vector foreign policy and its activism in international institutions. Landlocked, surrounded by large powers and closely tied to Russia by economics and demographics, Kazakhstan's efforts to assert its independence have always been a balancing act. Kazakhstan's first president, Nursultan Nazarbayev, established the country on the international scene in the 1990s primarily by his historic decision to renounce Kazakhstan's nuclear weapons and his careful efforts to build independent statehood in the political realm, while simultaneously working to restore economic integration among former Soviet states. Kazakhstan's model has been to maintain close relations with Russia, but simultaneously to strive to strengthen its ties with other partners, first China, then the United States, subsequently Europe and Asian powers, to obtain a positive balance in its foreign relations. This multi-vector foreign policy has since become a model that has been adopted by the Central Asian region as a whole. An active role in multilateral diplomacy was key to Kazakhstan's foreign policy from the beginning. Immediately upon independence, Nazarbayev initiated the idea of a conference on interaction and confidence building in Asia, which materialized in the decade that followed. The country also took on an active role in the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe, becoming the first post-Soviet state to chair the organization in 2010. Not stopping there, Kazakhstan successfully campaigned for a non-permanent seat at the United Nations Security Council and served on the council from 2017 to 2019. The country's first initiative in the field of international mediation took place already in late 1991, when President Nazarbayev partnered with Boris Yeltsin to seek to mediate the conflict between Armenia and Azerbaijan. But it is in the past decade that these efforts have been rekindled against a background of a gradual intensification of geopolitical competition in Eurasia writ large. Kazakhstan's first effort took place during its OSCE presidency, when it intervened to attenuate the crisis in neighboring Kyrgyzstan. By assisting in removing ousted President Kurmanbek Bakiyev from the country, Kazakhstan contributed to easing tensions in the country. The leadership next focused on nuclear diplomacy, an issue with which the country had considerable familiarity. After offering to host an international low-enriched uranium bank, President Nazarbayev succeeded in hosting two successive summits in Almaty on the Iranian nuclear program in 2013. These efforts aimed at seeking a negotiated solution that would halt the escalation of tensions that risked a greater military conflagration. While talks in Almaty did not resolve the matter, they directly paved a way for the Geneva talks that eventually led to the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action on the Iranian nuclear program. Over the following several years, Kazakhstan focused on alleviating tensions among its close partners, Russia, Turkey and the West. In 2014, Nazarbayev sought to bridge the divide between Russia and the West on Ukraine. The government played an active role in facilitating dialogue among Russia, Ukraine, France, and Germany that manifested in the Normandy format. 2 years later, Kazakhstan took a hands-on approach in resolving, at least for a time, the dispute between Russia and Turkey that resulted from the Turkish downing of a Russian jet over the Turkish-Syrian border in 2015. The next year, building on this initiative, Turkey and Russia agreed to President Nazarbayev's offer to host talks on the Syrian conflict. Several rounds of Astana talks have taken place since, involving the Syrian government, opposition groups, and the key external powers in the conflict, Russia, Turkey, and Iran. Its mediation has not been focused on faraway lands. It has been focused very much on those areas that affect the geopolitical stability of Eurasia, which in turn is the determinant for Kazakhstan's own stability. Thus, it is concentrated on crises right on Kazakhstan's doorstep, like in Nagorno-Karabakh and Kyrgyzstan, as well as on disputes that involve the regional and great powers of Eurasia. Both types of crises involved confrontations that threatened to destabilize the geopolitics of Eurasia and thus posed a threat to Kazakhstan's own security. Kazakhstan's economic development and strategic stability is directly correlated to the relative harmony of the broader Eurasian geopolitical environment, and it has been in its interest to work to mitigate such threats to stability. The country's efforts strengthen its sovereignty in at least two ways. First, it adds another layer of goodwill and recognition to Kazakhstan's international profile. Secondly, and more importantly, it provides regional powers with a strong rationale to accept Kazakhstan's neutrality in their mutual disputes. It has been able to demonstrate that it is more useful for everyone as a neutral power that does not take sides, in other words, more useful as a mediator than as a supporter. For example, while Russia would have liked Kazakhstan's endorsement of its policy in Ukraine, Kazakhstan showed that it could, uniquely, serve as a go-between that allowed Russia a way to manage its relations with Western powers, something that would be impossible in the absence of Kazakhstan's sovereignty and international credibility. This strategy has pitfalls. Its success requires that the level of conflict between Eurasian regional powers remains manageable, and that these powers are, of all, interested in maintaining a dialogue. If regional powers are in mortal competition against each other, Kazakhstan's efforts would be undermined. Against this background, the impact of Kazakhstan's efforts become clearer. Kazakh leaders were realistic about the limited prospects of success in resolving the thorny issues they addressed. Instead, they were focused primarily on managing the fallout of these conflicts on a geopolitical level, seeking to prevent their escalation in a way that would jeopardize the broader stability of the Eurasian continent. Kazakhstan's efforts in international mediation have been closely tied to the personality of its first president, Nursultan Nazarbayev. Will Kazakhstan continue to play a role in mediating the great power politics of Eurasia in the longer term? There is reason to believe it can, for two key reasons. First, Kazakhstan's meritocratic approach to personnel policy and foreign affairs has enabled the country to develop a considerable pool of officials with experience of high-level international politics, beginning with its current president, Kassym-Jomart Tokayev, who has among others served as head of UN offices in Geneva. Second, demand for this type of efforts is not likely to abate as strategic competition in Eurasia continues to intensify and efforts to mitigate the fallout of great power competition in Eurasia appear to be more necessary for every passing year. However, Kazakhstan has gained experience of becoming neutral and peaceful actor in the region. The country guarantees a bright future with its current position.
The National Investment Promotion Agency of Kazakhstan. My today's presentation will include introduction to the investment climate of Kazakhstan, opportunities in various sectors, and the assistance provided by Kazakh Invest. So why Kazakhstan is the desired destination for business? Kazakhstan is unusually gifted with natural resources. Huge reserves of oil, gas, coal, uranium, and various metal ores made the country an extremely important supplier for the world's industrial development. According to the World Bank, since gaining independence in 1991, Kazakhstan has rapidly transitioned from lower middle income to upper middle income country status in less than 2 decades by 2006. Since 2002, Kazakhstan's GDP per capita has raised sixfold. A very important aspect is the traditional presence in Kazakhstan of political stability and friendly relations with all countries of the world. Currently, the country sets the goal of reducing state participation in the economy and its further diversification through privatization, investment attraction, and development of local production. Be sure that in Kazakhstan you'll find skilled and educated workforce. The country is among top 30 of Human Capital Development Index. Most of the people are bilingual or multilingual. Market opportunities is one of the key factors for business decision makers. So let me highlight that Kazakhstan has direct access to the market of more than 500 million consumers, including the countries of Central Asia, Western China, and the Caspian Basin. One of the key advantages of Kazakhstan is its favorable geographical position between Europe and Asia, which predetermines its significant transport and logistics potential. Strategically, it links the large and fast-growing markets, it's 65% of the world's GDP, by the way, those of China and Southeast Asia and Middle East and Western Europe, by automobile and railroads, as well as the ports on the Caspian Sea. Thanks to the existing multiple transcontinental routes, Kazakhstan is one of the most important participants of the Belt and Road Initiative. Transcontinental transportation allows transferring goods from China to Europe 3 to 4 times faster. It's 15 days by railroads or 10 days by highway. Then by sea, it's 45 to 60 days, which significantly decreases the opportunity cost. We have been described as a buckle of the belt because the new Silk Road runs through Kazakhstan, and our logistics and transportation infrastructure is largely facilitating the trade between East and the West. So this brings me over to the investment climate. Kazakhstan is currently ranked 25th in the World Bank's Doing Business, climbing up to 11 places in just 2 years. Particularly, Kazakhstan comes 4th in the world for enforcing contracts and 7th for protecting the minority investors. Combination of all of the main factors is expressed in continuous improvement of the investment climate and volume of foreign direct investments. Since 1991, Kazakhstan has attracted over 350 billion of FDI. Top 10 investors are Netherlands, United States, Switzerland, and other countries. The understanding of investment opportunities of Kazakhstan, it was noted by many of the world's large multinational companies that have chosen our country for expanding their operations, opening production locally. The list of the largest investors in the economy of Kazakhstan includes not only enterprises in the mining and oil gas sectors, but also light processing and food producing companies, in the chemical and mechanical engineering industries, as well as infrastructure and transport companies from dozens of countries. In the Republic of Kazakhstan, investors' rights are given the utmost priority and protection at the highest level. We have developed multiple platforms to communicate and effectively solve arising issues. Firstly, we need to mention the Foreign Investors Council, chaired by the President of the Republic of Kazakhstan, the Coordination Council and the Council on Improvement of Investment Climate have been established under the chairmanship of the Prime Minister. Additionally, the launch of the court at the Astana International Financial Center and the International Arbitration Center is an important initiative to ensure the rule of law in investors' right protection. Moreover, the Prime Minister of Kazakhstan performs the functions of the Investment Ombudsman, which office is based in Kazakinvest. So our organization, Kazakinvest, is the unified investment operator of the Republic of Kazakhstan. We provide a full range of services to support investment activities and particular projects. Kazakinvest acts as a guide in Kazakhstan. For potential investors, we provide comprehensive country information, plus sectoral reviews, and what is important, specific investment projects prepared by our team together with international consultants. Then we organize targeted visits to Kazakhstan. We set up meetings with government center bodies and local authorities. We have representatives in all regions of Kazakhstan. Important service is business matchmaking. We assist in searching for a strong local partner. Then we actively assist in structuring of investment projects, providing various options for financing. We guide investors all the way through the project implementation stage. And even after successful launch, we provide continuous service support on the questions investors may have in doing business in Kazakhstan. So on the next slide, you can see countries and industries that are priority for Kazakhstan, and those sectors such as food processing, mining, metallurgy, chemical and petrochemical industry, mechanical engineering, and some of the new prospective sectors such as ICT, tourism, renewable energies, finance, and other sectors. On the map, you can see the foreign representations of Kazakhstan in multiple countries, including the United States. Our representations of Kazakh Invest function full scale and can provide continuous and comprehensive support for the new initiatives, for the investment projects. Kazakh Invest constantly analyzes the investment opportunities of Kazakhstan, identifies potential niches and projects attractive to investors. In Kazakh Invest, we also place particular emphasis on assisting local partners to find foreign investors by preparing investment proposals, working closely with the government representatives, international consulting firms, and local businesses. We develop investment proposals for flagship projects in the priority sectors. Today, we are ready to offer specific projects in various sectors, together with our full support to the potential investors. We have prepared more than 100 investment proposals in such sectors as agribusiness, mining and metallurgy, petrochemical sector, mechanical engineering, and tourism. Agriculture and food industry is one of the strategic sectors of Kazakhstan's economy that has tremendous potential for further growth. The World Bank characterized Kazakhstan as the breadbasket of Eurasia. The key factors of investment attractiveness of this sector: firstly, it is the total area of agricultural land. In Kazakhstan, it is more than 200 million hectares, including arable land, about 25 million hectares, and pastures, almost 180 million hectares. In addition, there is a high potential for introducing new irrigated lands for the development of raw material base for greenfield projects. As I was mentioning before, Kazakhstan has direct access to major global markets. And this is provided both by transport, logistic routes, and trade agreements. The total amount of exports to these regions exceeds 3.3 billion. The main export products are cereals, oilseeds, meat, dairy products, and various kinds of prepared food. What is important here that Kazakhstan has clearly identified priorities in agribusiness, the subsectors such as meat, dairy produce, cereals, oilseeds, potatoes. Processing of these raw materials gives the strategic competitive advantage for Kazakhstan. According to the state agribusiness program, the government provides support, the financial support for the new projects and new investors. Various measures of government support for investors, such as including the reimbursement of 25% of the capital expenditures. Kazakhstan also has a skilled workforce, and about 20% of which are employed in agriculture. In accordance with the global best practices in investment attraction, so this you can see the agribusiness project proposals in various subsectors. And on the next slide, you can see the investment opportunities in mining sectors. More than 40 niche projects with total cost of almost $10 billion prepared by Kazakh Invest together with our partners all over Kazakhstan. And we can share it with, upon request, with the investors. So on the next slide, you can see the investment incentives. So the country has 13 special economic zones located all over Kazakhstan that provide established infrastructure and wide range of investment preferences. We also have 24 industrial zones with turnkey infrastructure. The government of Kazakhstan provides comprehensive support for investment projects that includes fiscal incentives such as various subsidies, exemption from the corporate income tax, VAT, land tax, and property tax, and non-fiscal incentives such as free plot of land and infrastructure. Just recently, in January this year, the government of Kazakhstan amended the entrepreneurial code and introduced a new state support tool, investment agreement, for investment projects with the value exceeding $50 million. The investment agreement provides a range of tax benefits and incentives, such as tax exemption for various kinds of taxes, including the property tax and customs duty-free VAT and free import, state income grants, as well as reimbursement by offset against liabilities. So on the next slide, you can see the cost of the utilities in regions of Kazakhstan. We have made a comprehensive analysis of implementation of the projects in various regions of Kazakhstan. So there is a deviation, and some regions provide more benefitable conditions for the investors. And you can see it is far less costly than in most of the countries. And on this slide, you can see the finance opportunities for investment projects. So there are both governmental institutions, more than 20 institutions with government participating, both for equity and debt financing, such as Kazakhstan Investment Development Fund for equity financing, Samruk-Kazyna also you should consider, and for debt financing there are multiple institutions, and Kaztech Ventures for venture financing, export support, etc. So there is a financing provided locally, and moreover, World Bank and European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, ADB, and many international institutions such as investment bank Citibank work in Kazakhstan. And don't forget about Astana International Financial Center that provides fantastic conditions for project structuring and raising finance.
Kazakhstan enters new markets. Many foreign countries today show interest in domestic food and agricultural products. For instance, Sturgeon Farm from Mangistau region will deliver its fish to Georgia. The first batch is already being prepared for shipment. The company's management plans to enter the markets of China, Azerbaijan, and Russia. Currently, negotiations are underway with representatives of these countries. At the moment, the goods are sold in the region and supplied to Almaty and Astana. Production of caviar is planned at the enterprise. Currently, the farm is cultivating sturgeon. I consider it as a great achievement that the share of Caspian fish in the markets has increased. We're planning exports of caviar in the future. The sturgeon farm was launched in 2014 within the Business Roadmap 2020. The investments totaled 650 million tenge. Annual production capacity is 60 tons of fish. In December last year, the first products were supplied to markets. Meanwhile, since January, foreign trade turnover of the West Kazakhstan region in agriculture totaled over 15 billion tenge. Over the past 5 years, farmers have exported more than 7,500 tons of meat. Russia, Azerbaijan, Ukraine, Uzbekistan, and Spain are purchasing frozen and chilled beef and lamb, as well as cattle from Kazakhstan. Newly opened meat processing complex at Akjayik district is also increasing production capacities. The plant processes up to 5,000 tons of meat per year. Moscow purchasing companies supplying products to major retailers and restaurants are already interested in the local lamb. Currently, we are producing pilot batches, making samples, and sending to Moscow. The products are all frozen. In the future, they will be cooled. We comply with all the standards. Now we have to introduce meat boning. The Atomican National Chamber of Entrepreneurs provides support to domestic producers to enter new markets. Experts recommend business owners to monitor the quality of their products and make their packaging to comply international standards. Kazakh entrepreneurs can receive additional support at the website of the association and on Facebook under a separate section, Export to China. Currently, Atomican National Chamber of Entrepreneurs is working towards simplifying the logistics. A special working group headed by the First Deputy Prime Minister has already been established. Within the framework of this working group, we will consider further steps to simplify the logistics, to eliminate any barriers, especially those related to customs, in order to deliver these products without hindrance.
Globally, the food and agriculture sector is worth around $7.8 trillion. With the world's population and standards of living continuing to expand, the industry will need to grow in order to satisfy the increased demand. On the doorstep of a vast regional marketplace of over 500 million consumers, Kazakhstan's strategic location at the heart of Eurasia and its proven success in the agribusiness sector means it is in an excellent position to benefit from this growth. Kazakhstan's competitive advantages include its unique climate for crop and agriculture production. It is one of just a handful of countries globally with exactly the right conditions for growing wheat and grain without the need for artificial irrigation. Our vast size combined with abundant clean air and fresh water means we can produce crops and meat that rival those of any leading nation, not just in price, but also in quality. That is why for over 5 decades, Kazakhstan has been a major food supplier in the region. With unprecedented state support for the industry, along with the ever-growing demand from the largest importers of agricultural products and foodstuffs in the neighborhood, Kazakhstan is set to become the world's top food producer. Investors in Kazakhstan will also benefit from the development of the new Silk Road. Fresh food can be delivered to the major markets of Southeast Asia and China in a matter of days. At Kazakh Invest, we have made agribusiness one of the priority sectors to attract high-quality global investment. Our tailored package of services to ensure we work with investors for the entire life cycle of their investment journey. On the side of investors from around the world, we support from the initial concept of an investment idea right through to complete project implementation. Let Kazakh Invest join you on your investment journey.
Diplomatic ties between Astana and Beijing developed shortly after the collapse of the former Soviet Union, with both countries moving on to co-found the Shanghai Five, now known as the Shanghai Cooperation Council. Today, Kazakhstan's strategic geography provides the path to China's economic outreach, while China's growing investments provides Kazakhstan's path to modernization.
This year, Kazakhstan and China celebrate 25 years of diplomatic relations. And since the launch of the One Belt, One Road initiative, their economic relations too are thriving. China has surpassed Russia as the main investor in the region in a number of sectors, including energy and railways.
Beijing's investments have been diverse, spending nearly $30 billion in the country's mining, oil, agriculture, and transport sectors. China has provided loans and expertise to help build up Kazakhstan's railway network. In turn, this has helped extend the export of Chinese goods around the world.
It goes without saying we have a lot of programs together with China. And first of all, we needed to increase carrying capacity of our infrastructure to promote this Silk Way. If you take a look at the container trains shipments from China to Europe and back, From 2011 up to 2006, the container flows went up to 100 times. In 2011, it was 1,000 containers. In 2016, it was 105,000 containers.
Currently, it takes around 2 weeks for a container to reach any destination in Europe, 3 times faster than sea and much cheaper than air. The network is capable of carrying 50 million tons of goods per year, but Beijing and Astana are working to double that by 2020. In line with that, China has contributed more than $600 million to the Khorgos dry port on the Kazakh-Chinese border, which has seen more than $3.1 billion in investment since it began operating in April 2012, according to its management. Analysts also say China's economic relationships with other Central Asian countries are benefiting regional diplomacy.
Well, One Belt, One Road project, it became a new impulse for the region. Central Asia as a region is not much connected. There's a lack of connectivity within the region. Chinese policy provides currently a new agenda for the region in this respect.
Yet some Kazakhs fear what China's economic input could mean for the country's independence.
There is certainly a lack of understanding, among the people-to-people exchange. We might speak about New York, Milan, or Europe more than we speak about Dalian, Shenzhen, or other countries.
While China is trying to promote a positive nonpartisan image, Kazakhstan remains a nation still on the crossroads, both geographically and politically. While it wants China's investments, it fears the possible costs and a repeat of its Soviet past. Natalie Carney for CGTN in Astana, Kazakhstan.
Customs and traditions of the Kazakh people are an example of the behavior in the forefront of courtesy and respect. Kazakh national traditions are rich in its customs and traditions. They raise great daughters, noble sons based on traditions. Features specific to each nation can be defined in its national music, crafts, and customs, and its household traditions. Through this, you can learn vital principles, human nature, the behavior of each nation. Kazakhs are not stingy people. Kazakh people are very friendly. They have a generous heart. In addition, Kazakh people are very talented. They quickly learn all different things. They quickly absorb new knowledge. We highly respect our guests. We prepare a nice meal at Dasturkhan. It's our nature, psychological characteristics. That's how Kazakhs are. Daughter-in-law, bring my grandson here. Here he is, my lovely grandson. According to tradition, you have to give a present once you see my grandson for the first time. It's called Korumdik. Yes, right, the in-laws bring here your presents. Customs and traditions are the laws of life, the basic instrument in education. There is a Kazakh folk wisdom. Even if you will starve for 6 years, you should never forget the traditions of your fathers. Though the era changes, but we see that the Kazakh wedding traditions and customs are still passed down from generation to generation. We have already started to forget. We need to give the korjin to our daughter. Yes, we must give korjin because we brought it from afar. These are gifts from the father-in-law. To nephew, he gives a yearling. With God's will, you will visit the village and take him with you. Through knowledge of the ancestors, we strengthen relative connections. This connection leads to national unity. National unity means that we preserve our people's identity and we care about our people. There is one thing that does not change at all times. It's like an unbreakable thread running from the past. That's humanity, respect for elders, respect in general. You have to show your respect to your family. Daughter-in-law is a hearth of joy. After the appearance of the bride, the house is filled with joy. As the daughter comes into the house, all honorable men proceed to the tradition of education. We Kazakhs have a tradition of educating a daughter-in-law. The daughter-in-law, according to the traditions of the Kazakh people, young daughter-in-law gives the name to her sister and brother-in-law. Mr. Zhigiev, welcome, come in the place of honor. Oh, Zhenishe, I myself come from afar. My horse is exhausted. I dream about a tea from your hands. The Kazakhs have the word gentility. We always ask about the family. The gentility of Kazakhs means to keep the tradition of the 7th generation. You can get married after 7th generation. After 7th generation, they call it either grandchild or relative for the 7th generation. This means they have far connection, you can get married. Therefore, the whole world recognizes the Kazakh people. For Kazakh people, a father's house is a special place. Shanarag still has value as a house of family. A newlywed couple starts a new life with a blessing. Let this family be strong. These are hopes for a new family to be strong, its authority to be high. Our people have a tradition when the eldest son inherits a good share of the property to start a separate family. Son, all this cattle is yours. There is a tradition to give the eldest son the share of assets and let him be a separate family. In your share you have of 10 ewes, 2 cows, a mare with a foal. A younger son is master in his father's house. Daughter-in-law takes today a share of the property with our son to create a separate family. Woman is closest to the dishes. She is a welfare and a heart of her home. Therefore, I want to give you the dishes. One of the features of the Kazakh national nature is hospitality. They set the table and greet the guests with a great hospitality with genuine humor and courtesy. Kazakhs are proud people. Stranger who's coming to a house will be greeted with hospitality. Kazakhs never ask the price of food. On the contrary, guests were fed a certain part of the meat. First, the in-laws eat meat from the pelvic bone. Girls are given the meat from tibia. And this breast is given to son-in-law, oily and soft. Son-in-law is treated the way, so he will become his own man in the house. Nomads have a comfortable home for traveling, a yurt. It appeared in the ancient Bronze Age. Yurt of the 6 panels is located in the museum. This yurt is designed for the average family. In the yurt, door lintels is low and the threshold is higher. This is done to ensure that the incoming person could cross the threshold leaning on the right foot, thereby exerting respect for the house owner. In ancient times, looking at the appearance of the yurt, you could determine the welfare of the host and living conditions. Yurts are composed of 2 or 3 panels and reach 18 or 32 panels, and the number of concave grating of wooden poles, kerege, can reach from 70 to 360 pieces. Wealthy Kazakh yurts were filled with rich furnishings and ornaments. Kazakh yurt is a national cultural character which is celebrated today. Jarapazan is one of the religious practices that conducted in front of the door of the yurt.
Sarayday görünген қандай жанның үйі екен, мен танымай жүріппін өз ағамның үйі екен. Ассалаумағалейкум, сәлем бердік, айында оразаның аман келді.
Осы үйдің шаңырағы шапшақ екен, жеңгеміз осы үйдегі әппақ екен. Жарамазан айттық біз есігіңе, қошқардай қосыл берсін бесігіңе.
Мен айтқаның келсін қарағым.
Бата беруге байланысты бұл бір жақсы.
To give a blessing is a good tradition. Many believe this is a purely Islamic, and many Arabs do not use such a blessing.
Қолданбайды.
Құдіретті күшті Алла, қазақ халқының іргесін аштықтан, алапаттан, соғыстан сақтай көр Алла. Елімнің бірлігін, ынтымағын жоғалтпауға Алладан сұрап жалынамыз. Amen. Allahu Akbar.
Kazakhs have wise words. Together raise load is light. These words are associated when people come together to perform one operation. This is called asar. For residential buildings, shearing, felting, harvesting hay to perform an emergency jobs that need to quickly finish, the landlord calls for help villagers and relatives. Those who came did not take payment for the performance of work under asar. Well, relatives, I have called you to give the share of the property to my eldest son. To do this, closest relatives and the in-laws are invited, and those who wanted to organize asar. What would you say?
Салт бойынша асар ұйымдастырсам деп едік. Оған не дейсіз, қария?
Ынтымағы жарасқан елміз ғой. Дұрыс, ағайындарын.
We're a friendly nation. We invite relatives to do asar. This updates our traditions. People will be together with relatives. We will be given mercy. This is a good initiative and good support.
Дұрыс, қолдаймыз.
Дәстүр жаңаланып отыру керек. Байып отыру керек. Ескіден арылмаймын деп жаңағы, атам заманғы бір.
Traditions must be updated to become richer. Those traditions that do not meet the requirements of the time do not educate the younger generation and the whole nation, and as an archaism stay in the past. This is the law of life.
Өз алдынан өз бетінше бұлай архаизм сияқты қалып жата береді, ол өмірдің заңдылығы.
Kazakhs are skilled people. Among the people who are singing songs in the vast expanses of steppe, performing kiwi, the needlework, there were many jewelers with golden hands.
Сергек бұйымдар жасаған кезде қыздарға, сонда мен жақсы ақ көңілмен.
When I'm doing jewelry in a good mood and I have bright ideas about girls, then patterns are the same as script, so I write my script with these ornaments.
Сол жазбамен мен жазам.
Jeweler art has an ancient history. On the Kazakh land, there were many places rich with bronze, tin, gold, and various other metals. Through historically documented facts, it's easy to see how our ancestors made jewelry using it since ancient times. In the 19th century, the Kazakh people make more use of silver relative to gold because people believe that it gives a person the energy and strength. If a woman didn't have a silver bracelet on her arm, it was not allowed for her to enter the kitchen because the food cooked by her was considered to be unhealthy. Jewelers mainly produce jewelry. You see an exposition of the museum, which displays jewelry made in Western Kazakhstan. In the natural history museums of different regions of Kazakhstan, relics of praising national traditional values can be found. Archaeological excavations carried out in order to familiarize the younger generation with the history of their ancestors. In the fall of 2012, archaeologists of West Kazakhstan Regional Center of History and Archaeology Research conducted taxonomies both in the village of Teretkinsky district of West Kazakhstan region. The excavations found rich burial of a noble woman. Materials found in the Mount of Taksai give elaborate information about the traditions of burial of the ruling class, who lived during the time of the nomads in the vicinity of the Urals and the Volga. Scientific researchers have found that buried women belong to a high caste of her era. Among the relics in the settlement of Taksains, two most valuable Taksaiskaya comp were found. It attributable to 6th or 5th century BC. The main goal, knowing the tradition, is to find an image of Kazakh women, old women. For example, to find the image of the nation. All this came to us through history, through legends of ancestors. And not only a picture, but also through the de jure, that is, by its artistic cast, reproduced. Archaeological excavations prove who are the Kazakhs and in what era they lived. And coming from ancient times with a people historically deep in traditions, its national treasury and precious heritage never loses its value.
Kazakhstan is certainly your country to visit, but before visiting, you must understand the visa policies and requirements of Kazakhstan. Currently, there are about 60 nationalities who do not need a visa to visit Kazakhstan and can spend up to 15 to 90 days, while about 65 nationalities are required to obtain an embassy or consular visa to visit Kazakhstan. Nigerian nationals and about 150 nationalities are eligible for an electronic visa to Kazakhstan. Requirements for a visa to Kazakhstan are the presentation of the following documents: nationality passport, valid for at least 6 months from the point of arrival and must have 3 blank pages, visa application form, passport photographs, colored copy of passport data page, flight itinerary, evidence of accommodation, evidence of sufficient funds, master or debit card, travel health insurance, invitation letter from the Migration Service of Kazakhstan, COVID-19 vaccination certificate. For long-stay purposes, an embassy or consular visa is required to visit Kazakhstan. Depending on the purpose of your visit, certain extra documents could be requested of you during the application process. For better understanding, connect with your TraTrust agent on TraTrust mobile application. TraTrust agents are trained and dedicated to ensuring you have a wonderful experience before, during, and after your travels.